Uncertainty is definitely one of the biggest things I think that get in the way of a lot of individuals want and need to do an international experience such as the McMaster Study Abroad program. And I remember personally for me telling my friends and family, and a lot of them were worried that, oh my gosh, what happens if you're gonna be away for so long? Oh my god, like, how are you gonna feel? It's Australia, there's spiders, there's sharks, da 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 da. All of those, all of those fears, they should start listing it one by one. But you kind of just have to do it. You just have to jump in the deep end and spread your wings and just do it. And I remember one of the things that we had to do as part of the application process was that budgeting and expenses chart. And for me, knowing that I wanted to go for a full year, I knew that that was not going to be cheap. So one of the biggest parts for me, uncertainty-wise, was I really wanted to find work because that's what I put in my chart as the flow of income that would be helping me get through the exchange program, especially because I wanted to help out my family through the financial aspect because, like I mentioned, I was there for a year, well, about 7-8 months because of the pandemic. So when I did that, it was definitely a risk because as an international student, you don't know if you're going to be guaranteed a job, and B, when you do apply for a job, you don't know if the hours are going to be great or if you're going to be paid well. But definitely do your research because on a student visa in Australia, you are allowed to work a maximum of 20 hours per week, and even if you're in school, you can work. So that was really helpful. So it's really important to tell your employer that as well, just because a lot of employers may or may not know that, and you don't want to get in trouble by the government and then get kicked out of the country, and there goes your whole experience. And despite how scary it was, I remember my first week in Australia, my first week and like up until a month, nothing was coming back to me. So I applied for retail, I applied for fast food, everything, you can name it, and no one really got back to me. So I started panicking and I was like, oh my god, like I'm not gonna find a job. But then luckily I found a really great position as a part-time dance instructor at a studio within the city, and I was lucky because it was only about a 20-minute walk from campus, so the hours were great and I could just go right after my classes. I just go to work. And it was definitely scary because as an international student, you don't really know Australian people, you don't really know the locals that well, but it was such a blessing in disguise for me because my coworkers ended up becoming like my second family, my family away from home basically. And I really learned a lot about Australian life and speaking like the locals do, working with my coworkers as well as the students that we taught. And it was definitely something that I believe fulfilled my experience even more because I got to experience on a whole different level. I had to experience how to balance both work and school, as well as planning out my trips well so that everything would kind of work together and nothing really clashed together. And because I was there for a year, I had the time to spread out my traveling compared to people I knew that were only there for 6 months. So I definitely think that working while abroad was something that I needed because it helped me financially, as well as elevated my experience that much more because I learned what it was like to be like an adult. So setbacks and obstacles are definitely something that is bound to happen no matter how well prepared you are for anything, whether it's a trip, a school assignment. It's just how life is. And one of the main obstacles that I experienced while during my study abroad was definitely dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic situation, but that's more on a broader scale. However, on a more smaller scale, I want to say that one of the setbacks I did face was in regards to course selection. So as you guys know, when you're going through the McMaster Exchange application process, you pick your top 3 schools, and when you're doing that, you go through the courses that you want to pick to take at those schools, and then you get them pre-approved by your academic advisor. And when you're doing that, you don't really know that whether or not those courses will be guaranteed because you're either going through the archives or a previous year's course calendar, whether it's 2019, 2018, and not for the current semester just because it's not available yet. And when I was doing my course selections, I had everything planned out. However, one thing that I obviously didn't know what was going to happen was that sometimes the courses you pick are A, not guaranteed, or B, will clash with your really important courses. So for example, I'm in psychology, and one of the electives that I took had a clash with one of my psych courses. So obviously you have to get rid of the elective because you need the psych course. And one of the biggest piece of advice I can give for that situation is to just have backups, so that, especially for your electives, because you can kind of just take whatever, just have a backup and really be open-minded to taking whatever class you have available. If it's an elective, all you need is a really filler class, but take something interesting as well. And another piece of advice as well is to keep the line of communication open between your academic advisor as well as your academic advisor, both at your host university and McMaster, so that both parties know what's going on with your academics, and just to keep them updated, because ultimately your academics is the important part of going on exchange. So one thing is definitely to kind of plan ahead that sometimes your courses won't be there or they're going to have a clash. And another thing that I kind of found difficult was that the McMaster timetable generator was way easier to kind of navigate around compared to the University of Adelaide's. So it was a bit tedious going back and forth trying to find courses that would fit with what I already had, and then with tutorials and lectures as well. So just be mindful of that. So following my international experience studying and working abroad at the University of Adelaide in Australia, I've really gained this hunger to see more of the world and to travel more as much as I can, obviously, while we're still young and we're still able to. And one of the things that I really want to pursue is maybe doing postgraduate and do my master's somewhere in Europe, like in England or anywhere else in the UK, as well as maybe Italy or Portugal or even France once I, brighten up my French. And I really want to embrace a full experience rather than just a 6-month, 1-year thing. I want to be able to do a start to finish experience and really finish my master's and elevate what I've experienced in Australia and work again, as well as study and travel, just because having done that really made me interested and wanting more from the experience. And since it got cut short, what better time than to revisit old places again and maybe see Australia again and go to places that I haven't seen before, such as Uluru, since my time got cut short. And it would be really nice to kind of catch up with all my international friends, so people like from the States and some of my friends from Europe, even my co-workers back in Australia, and get to have a big reunion and travel again all together, and really just embrace and look back at what we experienced together, because I know that my batch and my group of friends can really look back on it. And despite having a pandemic happen during our time abroad, it really was one to remember, and I'm really grateful for it, because it's made me so much more grateful for friendship and more grateful for the world as well, because you don't really know how many people live in the world until you actually meet them and get to experience their cultures and get to teach them about your cultures. So I'm really, really thankful, because being immersed into so many different cultures and so many different types of people has made me so much more thankful for the diversity we have in Canada and the opportunities that we get through McMaster, such as the exchange program, that allow us to embrace and fully live our best lives as we're still students and as we're still learning and living and studying as well. Global and intercultural skills are such important workplace competencies, and I remember looking back at my statement of interest. I remember writing about who I wanted to become after I experienced the exchange program, and I remember writing down that I wanted to become a better, well-rounded individual. And looking back, having experienced what I experienced, I definitely can say that I've become a more independent and adaptable person. And that's one of the skills that I have definitely learned to develop and strengthened as well. And being adaptable to me is so important, because as soon as you get off that airplane, you're always adapting. You're already adapting to your new environment. How are you going to make this your home for the next 6 months or for the next year? And to me, adaptability is just that flow of being able to take it as it goes and just being able to take whatever that your exchange program can throw at you, no matter how ridiculous, even a pandemic, and being able to say, okay, we can make this work. We can, still find the silver lining, still find the positivity in it. And that's definitely helped me, because being adaptable is so important in the workplace. Say you have a new manager, say you have a work emergency or something happened and you don't really know how to react, much less react in a positive way. You just have to reflect and take your time and really understand that being adaptable means you can get through things calmly and professionally as well. And another thing that I took away from my experience was the art of being grateful and the importance of having a positive attitude regardless of what happens. I remember during my bad days, especially during my first couple of months when it was raining in Australia, and your first month and a half you're still pretty much adjusting, and on my homesick days or on days where I feel like I wasn't doing the greatest at school, I just had to remind myself that I'm in a whole new country doing something that most people don't even get to experience. And you still have to embrace the fact that there's more to the exchange program than your academics. But with that being said, your academics do play a really important role. However, you just have to remind yourself constantly that you're going to become such a well-rounded person after the end of your experience, and you get to experience something that a lot of people wish they could do. So just reminding yourself to be grateful that, it's a blessing for you to live in a country where there's beaches or there's really great food and you get to meet really amazing people and travel as well as go to school. That really helped me through. And I think positivity and having a positive attitude is such an important workplace attitude and skill to have, because a lot of employers will be like, if you're miserable all the time, no one's going to want to hire you. So that's really what I gained most from my experience.